episode 35 of the Fanzone Pod. We've got a slight change in the lineup today. Ben can't be with us, so I'm going to do my best to try and hold it all together, steer the ship. And we're joined with Colin, as normal, and our regular guest, Chris. Welcome, boys. I don't know what to call you then.
Cheers, Ange, I think.
It's Chris.
I'm not sure what I am now.
So obviously...
Is that after seeing Thomason's Arch yesterday? Is that, I don't know what you are.
Yeah. Do you want me to remind you of it? You ready?
Two of them.
There's one of them.
Two of them. So yeah, a 3-2 win yesterday at Bristol Rovers. So we'll crack straight on with both of your post-match reactions. We'll let Chris go first. What did you think?
I thought the first half was it was a bit like, in parts, I thought it was a bit like a pre-season friendly in bits, and then and there was a bit in the second half that with Glenn Whelan, and the 7 subs, which probably added fuel to that sort of lottery of a game that it was. But I thought in parts, I thought we were excellent in parts. Defensively, a little bit gung-ho, considering what was behind them, which we'll touch on later in the form of our goalkeeper.
Don't be too harsh, though.
You all sorry?
Don't be too harsh.
I'm not.
Never.
No.
Never.
We'll talk about Joel Dixon later. I mean, obviously he made a mistake for the first goal, but aside from that, anyway, I'll not steal that thunder because we'll talk about Joel later. But all in all, I mean, it was a cracking day out. Brilliant result. We go into the first leg of the playoffs with a rested team in key areas, and off the back of a brilliant run of form in terms of the last 11 league games. So no complaints, and we've already got under Barnsley's skin already. So it's easy, isn't it?
The other complaint from Chris is your crispy head.
Yeah. I'm a bit like a pork scratching, I'm afraid, or a crab. Probably more like a crab stick, because some were here, so I've caught it here, but not so much on here. I'm like Two-Face off Batman. So yeah.
So fair assessment.
Very pleased.
Over to you, Colin.
Yeah, it was it's typical end of season game, weren't it? I think abundantly clear that it meant pretty much nothing to both teams. I don't know, you never probably argue that point, I would suspect, given the fact that he obviously wants to win every game, and rightly so. I think it was nice to witness a game where we were quite clinical as well in front of goal. It certainly felt that way anyway.
Yeah, Cole, here's one for you, and you, Ange, and for everybody, really. When was the last time we scored 2 goals in a game from outside the box? I'll throw that open.
Yeah, it's one to think about that.
It's something Finn said to me after the game. I can't remember if it was Finn. Someone said to me after the game, "We scored 2 goals from outside of the box today. What's that about?"
Sorry, Colin, I cut right across you there, mate. But what a big
I mean, I can't really add anything more than what I said, really. I thought it was a lackluster defensive performance, which is kind of to be expected. I think losing Gethin quite early doors wouldn't have helped. Swap and changing about of defenders compared to the consistency that we've had in recent weeks. Again, probably shouldn't really come as much as a surprise. But yeah, that doesn't just count for the defenders. Obviously, it counts the whole kind of back 6, really, doesn't it, to be honest? But I think in terms of what it is, obviously, it's a game that allows us to kind of push forward, doesn't it, and go into the playoffs with under good form. I think we're unbeaten in 11 games, I think, so that's pretty good. I think ordinarily, I think people were pretty buzzing with that, wouldn't they? If they were a non-Bolton fan going into the playoffs unbeaten in 11, I think we should be pretty happy with that. And yeah, let's look forward to Saturday. I think, like you say, we've got under, certainly seems like we've got under Barnes' fans' skin. I'm not too sure whether the players are going to be too arsed about that. But yeah, it's all good. So yeah, let's look forward to it.
You've both actually done really well. So obviously we do an agenda every week, and sometimes it's really hard to not talk about agenda points when you do that post-match reaction. So what do you think about, do you think he rested enough players? The change in lineup, obviously he's rested some really key players. Neither Dion or Catcher came off the bench, which I think was a good shout. For me, and I know a lot of people there was a kind of really split feeling about it before the match on social media. And for me, absolutely, Joel Dixon should have been in that goal, because we could not afford for Traff to either get injured or pick up a red. We just couldn't. Yeah. So I think it was a brilliant call. What do you think, Colin?
Yes, that's me. Yeah. I said it last week on last week's podcast. I think it was imperative that we rested key players. And that, of course, includes James Trafford, who is arguably our most important player. You can't risk somebody giving him an elbow inside of the head and concussing and missing for a week or two. It's just not worth it. And as for the rest of the players we rested, I think, again, absolutely spot on. I think the only surprise I was quite surprised at was the fact that you only give 45 minutes to Rico. I thought he might give him maybe an hour. I was quite surprised at that one.
And he did actually say after that was the plan, because I think there's a few people that were a bit nervy at the fact he'd come off at half time, but he did say that was absolutely the plan, didn't he?
Yeah, and I am quite surprised at that, because I thought an hour would have been a more respectable kind of time for him. I think because Rico, as good as he is, and obviously everybody knows how much I rate him, he can often take a little bit of time to kind of get going a little bit. But yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, we don't know what the statistics are around his injury and stuff doing that. So, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with the changes, and yeah, we can't not be, because we got 3 points, didn't we?
Absolutely, yeah. Chris?
Yeah, agreed. I have to admit, I didn't think he would rest Trafford. I know the reason why, but purely on the basis of keeping that momentum and the fact that, without being too disrespectful to Joel Dixon, based on his games historically, there's a mistake that leads to a goal in every game. And I'm not using that as pelters, that's facts. But as it transpires, yeah, it was a great move. He's rested the spine of the team, essentially. I thought I was a bit concerned about Santos yesterday, in the sense that, Colin, you just mentioned it there. He's like a dynamo, isn't he? He needs
cranking up,
and he needs to get going. And I thought he was well off it yesterday, without being too harsh. I
think that. Sorry, Chris. Is that because of the very, very high standards that he set himself?
I think it was that, and I think as well, and whether it was something that was experimental, he played he played about 10 yards higher. I'm not sure if you noticed that yesterday, but he played a lot higher. We were level with our back four in the first half,
right?
And he played a lot more advanced and a lot higher. Whether that was a plan, I don't know, because Everett does tend to throw these curveballs in there, and then a game later or 2 games later, you realise why he's done it.
Maybe to get him more involved in the game, just to kind
possibly,
of
possibly
a little bit, get him sharper.
It was. I thought we looked a lot more assured with MJ in the second half, back in that position,
and that ball.
Oh, that move, that was just ridiculous. Thomason's mobility in the air to bring that down, and that finish, my God, that was a hell of a goal. But no, I think it was wise to do what he did, and I wouldn't be on this podcast and doing my job if I didn't mention tournament football.
Yeah.
Oh,
we'll still
we've got
you.
you.
My laptop just went off inadvertently. Yeah, it's coming to fruition now, and we're seeing it. And I think that ever tactical, I won't call it genius or wizardry, but he is very, very. He's excellent in that respect, mapping things out, and I think he's getting into that groove right now. So. Yeah.
This is where that element really kicks in now, that tournament football, because it literally is a tournament in it really now. And this is where his methodical planning, not only him, but obviously his backroom staff will hopefully come into their own.
Yeah.
I think Ben might be leaving.
You are?
I think Ben might be leaving there with these 3.
Oh, yeah. I think he might catch us tomorrow. Could be wrong.
And we have just won a tournament, so happy days. Bring on the tournament football.
Exactly. Nobody else in the playoffs has won one this season. So
we've touched on it briefly, but Joel Dixon, where do we don't see? Do we see him at this club after the end of the playoffs?
Absolutely not.
Sorry,
Absolutely, no. Categorically, 2-3 million% definitely no.
You sure?
Yeah, that isn't a slight on him. Let's
no,
he isn't.
It's not. I think that's it, isn't it? That you know, it's seen as being a personal attack. I don't know him from Adam, Bogdan. I don't know him from Adam, and it's nothing against the lad. As anybody who pulls on a Bolton shirt for me gets a fair crack, and they'll get my support. But time after time, he's proven that. Unfortunately, as harsh as it may sound, he's out of his depth.
Yeah.
He just got that presence for me. He can't command his area. He's not got that. He's not that full package that we need. And it's
that said, what I will say and give him credit for, I blamed him for their second goal yesterday. There's absolutely nothing he could do. He had nowhere else to parry it. It was unfortunate. And speaking about Santos being advanced, they had an opportunity in the first half where they hit the bar, it ricocheted back, and their player hit it instinctively, and Dixon flicked it over, and that was a hell of a reflex save. Yeah. And I think in terms of shot stopping, he's got that ability, but everything else, it's not of this level. Unfortunately,
he just falls away from where we have found ourselves now as a club. In terms of our progression, you know, we've talked about in recent weeks the speed in which we've developed as a team once again up to the standards that us as fans kind of expect, and he just fell away a little bit in that. He's just he'll almost certainly fix himself up with a League Two club, I would suspect, next season.
I think that's his level. I think that's absolutely his level. His League Two.
I'd be very surprised if he doesn't get picked up by a team that, you know, likes to play a little bit from the back. And I can't see that being an issue for him.
If he was a defender, he'd be Reece Greenwich.
You forget these people, don't you? And then the names crop up, and you're like, oh.
That's the era that he's from, isn't it? That's that point in time where he came into the mix, and he's done well to still be there now. I think, and this is going to sound horrible, but hey, he's benefited from the fact that Ian Evatt chooses not to play sub goalkeeper.
Which, he won't be doing next season, especially, he won't be doing it if we get promoted. He'll probably carry on in that frame of mentality if we were to stay in League One. But yeah, I think you need a solid number 2, don't you?
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
So we'll move on a little bit from, I think most people on the chat will be of a similar mindset to us. I don't think there'll be anyone backing him to stay. And let's talk about Charlotte and Dan. First goals for us. For me, coming at a brilliant time to boost confidence and kind of pick. Certainly Dan, he looks absolutely over the moon, and I've been willing it because I've seen such good things from him. I think he's got potential to be a really good player. And I think that Ian kind of mentioned it in his post-match interview that he'd like to work with him. Do you think that shows glimpses that he potentially will be with us, and he'll take that option to buy in the summer. Over to you, Chris.
I'm not going to get carried away. I mean, I've said it a few times, and you can't help but like the lad. He's got a great attitude. He's got a great work ethic. He's not a bad footballer. His feet, he's probably got the quickest feet in our team. It's his decision making, and that makes me think he's a work in progress, and something can be done with him.
While we're discussing this, sorry, Chris, this, if you stick in the chat, if you take him in the summer or not, just put it out or not, and let's see what you all think.
And try and remove recency bias from your opinions as well.
Yeah, scoring yesterday is brilliant. Of course it is. It's great, but you've got to look at the overall picture. Yeah, you've got to look at it from, what was it, Derby away, which was his first start for us throughout. Obviously, a big part of that was an injury. But I just think, I mean, people don't comment about him being compared to Ivan Toney, because if you read deeper, it's not that.
clever for me and Ebbett, that though, isn't it? Let's be honest.
You know what though, Cole? It's weird, right? Because I'm not sure if anybody was there the day that we lost to Peterborough 1-0 at their ground, and Ivan Toney ran it. He absolutely ran that game. He was unbelievable. And that's not long ago.
No.
Things can progress very, very quickly. So don't laugh it off too much, even though I am.
No.
But in answer to your question, yeah, I'd keep him, regardless of the league that we're in. Because I think there is a player in there. And I think the only missing component is his decision-making. And if Ebbett can work on that, which he has done time and time and time again, polishing turds, not to say he's a turd, but you know what I mean? I think he can get a player out of him, definitely.
To coin a phrase on that one there, Chris.
Indeed, yeah. Yeah.
Colin, what are you thinking?
Polish George Johnson's turd.
Yeah, oh no.
His face when he turned red, like,
I thought you were going to lamp him, mate.
There's nobody in the world with a whiter arse than me, apart from George Thompson. Jesus Christ, it glowed. It was like.
Did the sun reflect off it?
Have you ever seen Raiders of the Lost Ark?
No.
Yeah.
When they open the Ark of the Covenant and the light goes off and they all start melting, it was like that.
Could you invest in the sunbed?
Move on from that.
Colin, are you keeping him or is he going?
Well, I said a few weeks ago that I weren't convinced by him, and I did say I think he needs a goal and he needs to run a games and scoring. My concern is a little bit as that run of games obviously come a little bit too late, because I can't see him getting in ahead of Dion and Catcher for these 2/3 games. I think he might come on as a sub, of course, but it's difficult, isn't it? Because you can only judge forwards in my eyes in not so much just the goals, their overall play. And I think he's very good forward outside of the box.
So he's more of a playmaker.
Well, he's not, because he's a big lad, isn't he? And obviously you can tell he's a forward and he plays well with his back to goal and stuff. But I just, at the moment, I think because of what Chris said, I think his decision making isn't the best. So I think in-game decision, he isn't making the right type of moves, shall we say. So obviously, naturally, he wants to come looking for the ball to try and impact the game. So yeah, I think there is a forward in there. Maybe that's a little bit of wishful thinking, but one thing is for certain, he took his goal very well yesterday. So he knows where the net is, doesn't he?
That finish, it really was.
I see him as an option. I think going in, I want to think and have the mindset of us getting promoted. I think I see him as an option in the champ to come on, and in time develop him. But would I take him over Bob Varson? Absolutely not, despite Bob Varson's awful injury record. Would I take him instead of Catcher? Again, I'd have him as an option as well. It's difficult. It's a really, really difficult question to answer.
I'm so glad it's not us. I'm so glad it's not us making these decisions.
Yeah, because I think that for us, if we're us to get obviously pushed forward next season, if we were to get promoted, we're going to need more options up top. But we've got a lot of options already, so it's difficult. I think,
and a few of them that have not had a pre-season with us. So, well, certainly Victor.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, and also like he's the ball both Shortire, who I'd like to see come back next season, may I add, and also Dan and Victor are all signings that haven't had that pre-season, which is what is important. It's a really hard question to answer. I've not answered it, and I've waffled for about 3 minutes.
It doesn't matter. We'll allow it. I am going to dive into the chat now, even though it's going to make me want to rip my own eyeballs out, and just discuss the Cole Stockton thing.
Move on.
So only because it's been brought up and it's being discussed currently on the chat, but for me, it is a no. Cole Stockton to Bolton is a no. Feelings on the panel?
I look at it like this. His last 10 games for Morecambe this season have been exceptional in terms of goal scoring output. But that's in relation to overall a barren season. Based on that, based on last season, based on the season before, so across 3 seasons, which I think is a pretty representative sample to work from of football, he's very much a fair weather player. If he'd have played consistently throughout this season, perhaps Morecambe wouldn't be they wouldn't be in League Two.
No, they wouldn't. No,
and we would. Why that's relevant to us is that we don't need players like that.
No,
we've got a really cohesive unit. I mean, look at Unlundalu scoring yesterday, and look at what the reaction. He celebrated with the whole bench. It was like that was really typical of what we're all about. And I don't think that Cole Stockton fits into that at all. I really don't. I don't see him as that player.
I don't think he looks fit. If you look at it,
no, you got to think. You got to think about the resources at Morecambe. I mean, I think that's been underlined this evening, hasn't it? They've retained 6 of the first team squad. That they're struggling, so they don't have the resources that we have to condition and nurture and really get the most out of players. But no, what I'm saying, Cole, is I agree with you. He don't look
fit,
athletic at all.
Not fit enough to play for us, then. No chance.
No.
So it's no matter what division we're in, it's an absolute no from me.
It's a no from me. People will have different opinions, but no.
I see the attraction with him being released from Morecambe. You see the why the question's getting asked. Absolutely, and his goal scoring record in the last season and obviously these last 10 games have been pretty impressive. But you got to look at it more than just goals.
Yeah,
and what he offers you.
I'll take Alfie May above him every day of the week and twice on Sundays.
Yeah,
I really would. In terms of the way that his goal output, his application, he's a consistent goal scorer. He'll score every other game.
Yeah.
Not the last few games of the season. He's always there. He's a constant threat. He's a constant output. And he's very much like Dion. He's like a wasp. And he just irritates defenders. He presses and presses and presses. You don't get that from Stockton. But, my opinion.
Thank you. We've covered it. Sorry, my laptop was dying as well.
Sorry. We need some experience in this team if we were to get promoted. We need some know-how. We need some players that have played at a higher level that are willing to take, the financial drop and come and play for a proper club. Not signing players who probably should be in League Two or bottom half of League One.
So that's our feelings on that.
Yeah, I think so.
Sorry, I had to just get my laptop just died. I had to just get the guy from upstairs to plug it in for me. So, Fanzone Man of the Match. I have mine for once.
Oh.
I know.
Organised.
I'm happy to go first. If anybody wants to stick a man of the match in the chat, that would be nice.
Yeah, I've got mine now.
I'll go on, then we'll go with you, Chris.
I'm going to go Randall Williams.
Shout.
And I don't have to explain that. If you, and I'm not saying I do know anything about football, but if you know anything about football and you watched his performance yesterday, you'll know why. Can
you obviously I harp on about the poor distribution of images through EFL's iFollow, and I can't ever really follow the game as well as I would like. Can you, for the people that didn't go on, and obviously I know you did, Chris, can you elaborate a little bit on his performance yesterday, please?
He was. I've got a theory. I think you and I have actually spoken about this, Colin, before, about the theory that Randall Williams is a right-sided player, not a left-sided player, a right-sided player. He did that at Exeter, at Hull, briefly. It's his natural side. It's where he's strong. Sorry, I've just seen man of the match.
Tomo's
ass. Yeah. It's good shout, that. It's winning no awards, that, Brandon. I'm sorry. No.
Absolute blinder, didn't it? Absolute blinder.
Yeah, literally. I was concerned when Gath went off because I like him a lot. I think his experience is important. I think he's played well for a good period of time. He adapted so well, and I thought, for me, he showed why we bought him. And when you put him on the right, you see the real potential in that player. And I thought he was excellent. His movement was excellent. His anticipation was excellent. His passing was excellent. I just thought his performance was absolutely spot on yesterday. It was enjoyable. It was to summarize, which is hard for me, I know. To summarize, it was enjoyable watching him.
Did he look like he was enjoying it as well?
He loved it. He loved it out there. He was buzzing.
Like Colin said, it is really hard to kind of get a true picture of the whole game when you're watching it on iFollow. Yeah. So it's really hard to...
Sorry, Andrew, just to elaborate on what I mentioned before about this theory. My theory is that he will be playing on the right side of our team next season. Whether that's a direct replacement for Connor Bradley, I don't wish to speculate, but I think he'll be playing on that side next season, and I think he'll do an excellent job.
Yeah, and you would think maybe that was Ian's thinking behind the whole purchase of him, that he's that option there for if we don't get... You can't rely on loans. You need to...
No, you can't Plymouth.
What?
You can't Plymouth off.
We have.
Well, yeah, to an extent, but I'd much rather cultivate our own.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Have you got one, Colin?
I have, yeah. I thought he was unlucky not to score. I think he came inches to scoring in the first half. I thought Victor had his best game for us yesterday. I thought he was an absolute menace. I thought he held the ball up well. I thought he ran the channels well. I thought he used his body well. I just thought he played very well. I think he deserved to go yesterday, to be fair. Then I think I'm seeing him gelling into our starting 11 more every game that goes on. And he's just another option. He's just a different type of option for us that we need from an attacking perspective.
I went with Aaron Morley. So we've got a split vote. We've got a couple of Morleys in the chat. A Dan. So we've not really got one.
No.
But I like it when it's like that. I like it when we've got a couple to choose from.
It was a weird game yesterday. It was like, obviously we made the comparison to a real typical end of season game, being like a pre-season friendly almost. There was a lot of that yesterday.
Do you feel like the intensity levels weren't quite there compared to
no, they weren't. No, and then with good reason as well. Even though it was there were a lot of personnel changes. There is always that kind of thought in your mind that if you're getting injured, it's to the detriment of the squad and the options that you've got for hopefully these next 3 games. So I think it wasn't as intense as it would normally be.
I think they were well looked after again. I think they stayed over again, didn't they?
No, I don't think they did. I don't know about the night before. They came back straight away, didn't they?
The night before, I meant. Yeah,
the night before. Sorry, yeah. Right.
So obviously that's always good, isn't it, for them to rest up well.
So I'm going to move us on to, for me, the most important signing of this summer before the season has ended. And that obviously is the contract extension for Ian Evatt till 2026. For me, the biggest asset this club has. Forget the players. That man, that was a really important piece of business to get done nice and early. And I am over the moon. What do you think, Chris?
Honestly, God, I didn't see it coming. It was one of those announcements. Like, you remember that Friday when Sarcevic...
saw the pen.
Yeah. You remember that? Was it the Thursday or a Friday when Sarcevic went and he came from absolutely nowhere?
Yeah.
It was the kind of shot level was comparable to that. Didn't see it coming. Obviously,
no rumours, were there?
You are?
There were no rumours or anything, were there?
Nothing was there. No, that was it. And that's beautiful. I love that. And that added to the romance of it all. I thought it was amazing. So you get that kid at Christmas kind of feeling.
And that really emotive video that went with it. It was a lovely piece of videography, wasn't it?
Unbelievable. Are you
still getting yourself all excited about that, Chris?
Honestly, I was overwhelmed at one point. I watched the video about, I know it's only about whatever it was, 40 seconds long. I must have watched it about 40 times. And about the 30 second time in, I actually felt like I was going to cry.
Oh.
Genuinely. It came over me in a wave, so to speak. But no, like Anne said, he is. You can't lose sight of how important that bloke is.
Can I ask the chat, because there's nearly 30, I think there's 30 people in the chat just a second ago. What are your opinions on Evatt? Have you got any? Is it all positive? Are you thinking along them lines, or is there anything else that pops into your head? Because I've got a slightly different perspective on it.
Can I just add, because I've just obviously entered that realm. I'm a happy clapper.
You're an happy clapper, Chris.
I'm an happy clapper, and I'm proud, and I don't give a shit what anybody else thinks about that, frankly. But no, I'm not. Do I think that we've reached utopia or whatever, and he's everything? No, absolutely not. And that is the most exciting thing about Evatt, is the fact that he's got so much to learn, but he learns so quick. But
he's on the journey with us all.
Exactly.
The club is growing, and we're growing with him, and it's been beautiful.
It's aligned, isn't it? Everything is.
From that first season, he was with us, and those mistakes he made, even just media-wise, to where he is now, is amazing.
He was right, though, weren't he? He did need some on off a little bit.
Well, thing is, though, Colin, he wouldn't say it now.
No, he wouldn't. He'd think he just wouldn't say it, would he?
No.
Which is what he needs to do, isn't it?
But that was what he needed to do, yeah.
Yeah, that's the difference. He cognitively, he's like a sponge. He's such an intelligent guy for a big daft defender that it's frightening.
He reads a lot, can't you?
Yeah. I love that.
See, I've got a slightly different perspective on Ian Evatt. Ian Evatt's contract. Not Ian Evatt. I think he's a fantastic young manager, and I think he will, if not with us, he will manage at the top. You can just tell he's got that note about him, and he's articulate manner, and tactically he's got a little bit to learn, but he's getting there and stuff. But I think for me, it's more of a protective of the asset move from the club's perspective. Please don't think just because he's signed a 3-year contract that he won't leave in the next 3 years.
No.
Because if something
I don't think
if something comes up,
yeah.
It's just important to just remove that from your mind and just think that he's an asset. So if somebody comes in
it's his stock, isn't it? It's ultimately it's his stock improves, doesn't it?
Exactly, yeah. He's willing. If someone's willing to pay that,
he's now price stamped.
Exactly. And as a club, that's all we can really ask for, protecting our assets, and of which, of course, like you said at the beginning, Angela, he is probably our most important asset. But I'm under no impression that, under no illusion, if the right move for him comes along, that it isn't Bolton Wanderers, he will move.
But he will make us some money. He will more than any player could. He will make us some money if he goes in that next 4-year window. Is it for 3 years? 3 years.
2026, isn't it? Yeah.
I'm not saying that. I mean, I was on the EFL debate with Gabe a few weeks ago.
Oh, name drop. Sorry,
Colin didn't.
We were chatting. I don't know whether it was. I can't remember if it was live or afterwards. But he were asking me about Everton, and I and all of the guys that were on the podcast, and bear in mind they're all pretty much, all of the top half of League One were involved in this particular podcast, and I just said I can't see any move to any club, even in the Championship, unless it was a top 3 Championship club, and all of them agreed with that. So from the outside looking at Ian Evatt, looking at the club he's managing, look at the infrastructure, looking at everything that we've got going for us, even fans of other clubs admit that, you know what, chances are he wouldn't move, but there will be an opportunity in the next 3 years for him to move, and if the money's right, then he might go.
But he'll do for me for now. Thank you.
That's my thought.
So obviously, big game on Saturday. We now know we are playing on Saturday rather than Friday night, and it is Barnsley for about the millionth time this season. So I already feel sick. But how do you both feel about drawing Barnsley, and then obviously your feelings about actually being in playoffs, which we're old enough to remember them. I don't think Benjamin would have been too would have had too much.
Good job I'm on, isn't it?
It is. That's the main reason why you're on, Chris.
But Colin, if you want to just tell us your feelings about Saturday.
Well, it's 22 years ago, isn't it, since we were last in the playoffs. And like you said, those of us who are old enough to remember them, they are very, very difficult to get through as a football fan. But even though I was only 13 when we were in the last playoffs we were in, I was nervous. But this time, I think we've got to try and enjoy them, because I think we're going into the playoffs in good form. We've got a good record against the teams in and around that particular group of teams. I think playing away from home second, bizarrely, could probably help us. The way we play, the expectation on the home team to come at us when they're at home, that would help, because obviously we can probably catch them, I think, and they'll be very wary of that. So that's a benefit. I'm not really nervous. I'm pretty excited for it, to be honest with you. I think it's the type of thing you need to embrace. It's a bonus, isn't it, really? You've not been good enough to get the top 2 spots, which a club of our size and stature, we should be going for them top 2 spots. So we've not been good enough for them, let's be honest. Plymouth, Ipswich and arguably Sheffield Wednesday have been the best sides in the division. But we've got an opportunity. So embrace the opportunity, enjoy it, go with hope more than expectation, and see what happens.
And if you need to, plenty of black Sambuca, which is what I probably will be drinking before.
You want to remember it. No, let's enjoy it. Let's get behind them. Let's realise what we've achieved so far this season already, which has been a good season, really, for a League One team. And tackle it and get promoted.
Chris, do you feel the same?
Absolutely shit in it.
I'll see you on the concourse on Saturday and he'll be like, huh.
Free hit. Sorry, Dan's issues. That's what I was looking for in my head.
Free hit, yeah.
Free hit.
That's what I was trying to kind of get to.
I won't go into my history with the playoffs because it's long. Very long. But I'll tell you what my first playoff was, and it was a relegation playoff. We don't have them anymore. Obviously, the format changed about 200 years ago. And the first playoff experience I had was against Aldershot. And we got relegated to the 4th Division, League 2 now. And we talk about reliance on goalkeepers. The goalkeeper at the time, Malcolm will remember this, when we played Aldershot at Burndon, David Felgate, our goalkeeper at the time, had to play on one leg for a good 20 minutes of the second half. It was horrendous. It was horrible. And it still sticks in my craw now. But anyway, but I've seen a load of players, and I'm with you on that, Cole, about embracing it and enjoying it and seeing it as, we've got some extra games at the end of what has been a brilliant season. Yeah. What a bonus. I can't. I'm trying, but I can't.
You want to, but you just can't.
Badly, mate. I said it earlier. I said, I'm just going to enjoy it. It's just going to be an experience. And I'm absolutely shit at it. There you go.
I mean, I get what you're saying, Colin, and it's amazing that we've once again, season on season, we're making those incremental gains, and we're in playoffs. Oh my God, we're in the playoffs. Look how long it's taken some clubs of similar stature, if not bigger, to get to that position. Could have been a derby, but we're not. So I get what you mean. I'm gonna enjoy it and I'm gonna love it, but I will definitely want to vomit.
I'll say this, right? When you think about when we lost at Derby earlier this season, and when you think about Sheffield Wednesday and having an unbeaten run that was the equivalent of half a season and getting 96 points and not getting promoted, and we're in the same position as they are.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking hell. Sorry, that's swearing a lot. But seriously.
That was a big swear.
That was a big swear. I do apologise, viewers. Watershed's not till 9, is it? But that came from the heart. That genuinely is how I feel about it. It's such a massive achievement to get at that top table.
Capture that, and then that's what I'm saying. Enjoy it.
Passionate. I'm there for it. Angel see it. She sees my profile. She sees at the game.
I stick my head over the side and just see how he's doing.
It's a good gauge of what's happening. Seeing sort of like what colour my head is and stuff like that, and how many veins are popping out inside of my head. But it is a brilliant achievement to be at that top table this season in probably what's been the best League One for a long time.
And all I can say is we as fans need to do our bit now. We need to make it a cauldron of noise, as Ian said.
Yeah.
Get behind the boys. If we're not doing so well,
I think
behind the boys.
You know what? I think it will be like that because bizarrely or rightly or wrongly, there's still an element of expectation no matter who we're playing at home. And personally, I'm all for that. I think there should be. But obviously that has an adverse effect from time to time. But going into this game against Barnes on Saturday, there's not going to be an expectation. So the natural instinct to that is to react and get behind the team. And I think that's exactly what will happen. There won't be any nervous energy or any negative energy or anything like that. It will be a case of literally getting behind them.
There'll be a little bit nervous energy, but
nervous energy, not like expecting energy is what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
I have got this feeling though, and I'm not trying to tempt fate or being overly optimistic. I can actually see, and for anybody who knows me and how negative I am when I go into every single game, we're going to lose this, we're going to lose this, we're going to lose this. I have actually got this image in my head of absolutely blowing them away on Saturday. There's a possibility. I'm not saying it will happen, and I'm not saying I expect it to happen, but I actually see it. I can actually visualize it that we could potentially blow them away.
You're manifesting it, Chris. You're manifesting it.
I'm manifesting it. Yeah. Think about was it Josh Sheehan's misses in the car before he scored that goal the other week? That against who was it against? Who was he scored? Who Sheehan scored against the other week?
Yeah, she said it on a live thing, didn't she?
But just for me, Neged, to have that, even have that image in my head, I think it goes to show what we've created this season and what we can
the
potentially do.
30 people in the chat, and a percentage of which don't know Chris. He isn't bullshitting you there. He is a neckhead when it comes to
35 years I've been like that.
Yeah.
It won't change now, unfortunately.
You can't change who you are now. You're too late.
No, it's too late. So there you go. Anyway, that's my 2 pence.
What I said about enjoying it, I'm talking about the 2 fixtures, the Barnsley fixtures. I ain't going to be enjoying the final if we get to the final. I'll be a completely different person to what I were when we went a couple of weeks ago. Completely different. I'll be on a par with Chris in terms of nervous. And my missus came to the EFL trophy, and she's going to come to the final if we get there. And I said to her, just expect me to be a completely different person.
Do not speak to me.
I went down there. I'll be honest. I went down there in that EFL trophy. I was like, I'm not really that arsed. If we win it, phenomenal. If we don't, we move on. It's just
regardless of what league we're in, next season is massive. There's so many milestones and landmarks and things that are like really pivotal kind of differences that map our improvement as a club. From not saying we should be happy we've still got a club. I'm not saying that. Jesus, I will be going into happy clapping.
Yeah, you will be happy clapping then.
Yeah, Jesus. But there's a lot of really sort of pivotal moments next season, regardless of what league we're in. We shouldn't lose sight of that shit.
No.
Definitely not.
And I think that rounds us off nicely there, Chris. A nice little ending comment. So thanks to everybody that's contributed. Obviously, it makes the Fanzone Pod what it is, with you all joining in and having a chat with us. Reminder, tomorrow night we have a special pod.
Bonus pod.
We'd love you to be able to join us. It's going to be live again, and we have got David Wheater coming joining us. So we'll try our best to, if you've got some questions, pop them in the chat, and we'll try and pull some out.
Can I add to that, Ange?
Go.
Obviously, ordinarily, like Angela said, and we've said in the past, we try and keep a bit of a structure to the podcast. But when David Wheater comes on tomorrow, we're going to scrap that. We're opening the floor to just a conversation, essentially. And I think we want to encourage as many of you to come and join the chat, to ask him questions, to share your thoughts on this, that, and the other. And obviously, we're going to try and make it a little bit like more flexible than we do normally on these type of things. So, tell your friends, tell whoever you want to tell. But yeah, it'd be really good if the 30 people that are in here can come back and whatnot.
So same time as always, 7:30. Join us on YouTube, and then you can pop your comments in the chat. And I think that's all from us. So thank you, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Oh, I've got something.
Oh, hang on.
Colin.
God, Colin.
Buy some gin.
Oh, Bolton gin. I knew I'd
buy some Bolton gin, please.
It's on the agenda, Ange.
Follow the script, Ange.
Did I actually write it down? I can't read my own writing. Yes, thank you to Bolton Gin. Get some down your neck. There's another bank holiday coming up, so get some stocked up. It's lovely stuff.
Get some order for Saturday in case you need to settle the nerves.
Bit of Dutch courage.
Have you still got that offer on?
Yes.
I'm going to tell them about that.
The Fanzone 10 is your discount code. Pop that in the checkout, and you'll get a nice 10% off.
You sound just like them.
I've learned from the best. So yeah, thank you all, and fingers crossed we'll see lots of you tomorrow, and then after the first Barnsley instalment.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a good one.